We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves, to in our posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America. Is Minnesota a failed state of the Union? And what is the Union? The Union is all 50 states, right? Plus the U.S. territories and all possessions and minor outlying islands. Can't forget those. You know, when America was created, we just like left some stragglers out there in the middle of the ocean. World domination, folks. So, but tonight we're going to talk about the outlaws in Minnesota and what that looks like. And really who should be accountable, who is accountable, who's not being accountable, and why we won't see any accountability. I'm going to show you in this video how all these politicians, I don't give a crap what party they're in or how they want to label their own category in their own party, they're all in it together. Do not think for a minute that there's a division between the Republicans and the Democrats. That's political rhetoric for your theater to fuck with your mind. Sorry. Are there some good Republicans and some good Democrats? Yes. Like with every category of everything, there's some good things and some bad things, right? Isn't that how it is? There's a systemic failure in this United States of America, and it starts with we, the people. We have failed ourselves. You have failed yourselves. You failed your family. You failed your community. You failed society. And most of all, you failed God. I'm not here to judge you. I'm not here to hold you accountable. I'm here to show you the facts. But because we're dealing with politicians, which is a completely different category. If you think cops protect cops, you're seeing the best of corruption, and they don't even hide it. They don't even try to hide it. They want to throw you a crumb and tell you they threw you a whole loaf of bread, a pizza, and some Parmesan knots to go. Did they not? They're selling you wolf tickets. They're full of shit. You're going to get nothing but political rhetoric. Quit listening to them. All of them are lying to you. I don't care what's coming out of their mouth. They're a politician. They're lying. They're part of the group. They protect each other. Rarely do politicians hold other politicians accountable for any transgressions. Why do you think it's legal to have a criminal conviction, a felony, or a misdemeanor to serve in our federal government? You can't do that in the state of Texas. So Minnesota's been having problems for quite some time. And for all you Minnesotans up there, God damn, I feel for you. Not only do you have to endure the most horrific cold weather imaginable. If I walked outside and saw a foot of snow, I would shit in my pants. Oh, God, that's too much. I'm going back inside. But now you have to deal with this. But, you know, if you allow yourself to be governed, you will be governed, and most likely you will not like how the governing ends up. And you allow this, people, day after day after day after day. It's insane. Today, walk outside, more chemtrails. There's nobody stopping it. There's nobody talking about it. There's nobody picketing City Hall, County Commissioner's Court. Nobody cares. Nobody's too occupied. Everybody's paying attention to the political rhetoric. Well, let me point out what just happened over in Venezuela. Did we not, allegedly, this is the claim from the Trump administration, send in the Delta Force to extricate a criminal, right? A criminal kingpin, a narco terrorist who was the top of this criminal organization, right? President Nicolas Maduro of Venezuela, who's technically still the president, right? And his wife. So obviously, if there's a kingpin running around with a criminal organization, that the United States fully has the capability, technology, personnel, and definitely the financing to take that person into custody. Okay, Floyd. Well, who's part? Oh, the Department of Justice, right? So they filed these trumped up charges. I'm going to express to you 12 years of legal experience that I possess, not only playing around in the courts, but at all levels, all categories, and then reading and writing and doing a lot of that. I'm going to break down the law. And this is why I said, okay, there's outlaws running around. They're Republicans and they're Democrats, and they're still sitting in office, and you see them on TV every day. They're all over the news, just wanting to tell you about all this stuff they're doing, like, what we've been doing in Venezuela, all the boat strikes that we did. They got to justify all that, leading up to this invasion to basically kidnap a president on sovereign soil and extradite him back to the United States. I'm telling you, Russia and China are a little peeved about that. So are a lot of other countries in the rest of the world, because what they see is hegemony, full spectrum dominance, the United States trying to take over the world. And what's behind it, ready to take over with it? AI. Okay. I went and read the plan. I went and found the plan. The plan everybody was talking about, well, they didn't come out until July 2025. And it's the plan about AI, because that was the first thing Trump signed in as an executive order, was the Stargate AI project. So that's the most important thing on his agenda. The government's agenda, military agenda, intelligence agenda. And then all these third-party pop-ups that, want to get into the national defense category and produce all these neato weapons and technologies. So clearly, I've laid the foundation just in my statements that obviously we just did it so we can do it on our own soil, right? If we can take down a president of another country with an army, a police force, I'm sure he has presidential security, penetrated all that, took him into custody, flew him out of the country into another country. So we can't fly into a state in the United States and take down a criminal kingpin and a criminal organization. Didn't we do that in the 70s? Who was that was real famous for doing that? Oh, Rudy Giuliani. Rico, get the mafia. Well, Floyd, you know a little bit something about Ricos, don't you? That's what I hear. Well, yeah, I do. I covered it in Trump's Fulton County, Georgia case. That was a Rico, if y'all remember, that fell apart. Like I said it would. And I went and read the Georgia RICO law, which is almost a word-for-word adoption of the federal RICO statutes in Title 18. 1964, I think you can go read most of it. I think it's 62 through 68, if I remember correctly. 1962 through 1968, Title 18. So I read Minnesota's, and Minnesota's is almost similar in verbiage to Georgia as well as the United States. And there's a reason that on this thumbnail you see Democratic Farmer Labor Party, because that is a subsidiary, a wing, a branch, an agent of the Democratic Party. The people in power in Minnesota who hold all the responsibility for accountability belong to the Democrat Farmer Labor Party. We're going to go see who these folks are. And you're going to understand why Minnesota is a failed outlaw state and needs to be taken over by the federal government. Absolutely. This is a racketeering, influenced, corrupt organization. It's being run through the Democratic Party because both the political parties are corrupt. You heard me say that. I said it out loud. I stand by it. Both political parties are corrupt. They're the same party. They just have different ideals. The same boys club. They eat in the same chow hall. I'm sure that they have the sex with the same prostitutes and mistresses and misters and all the other crazy kinky shit they do in Washington, D.C. But this is fucking out of hand, folks. When are the people of America going to wake up and take our country back? This is ridiculous. And, you know, I'm going to piss off everybody that's a MAGA, everybody that supports Trump, every conservative, every Republican, every Democrat, every liberal, the Q-tards. I'm going to piss you all off because I'm going to show you in black and fucking white ink, okay, what the law says. And isn't Trump's whole platform, oh, we operate on rule of law, when it doesn't pertain to us? Because Pam Bondi is a fucking joke. She's no better than the predecessor during the Biden administration. And we know how inept those little were. I was going to let out a string of profanities because, yeah, that's what's up. I'm waiting on Juan to come over. We're going to a concert tonight. So I'm going to shut it down whenever he gets here. And he just rolled into his crib. And, yeah, we're going to continue on. So I got another show for you. Check this one. Ooh, yeah. We're going to talk about the children in the tunnels. Remember that, right? Remember all those rescued children? Tune into that one. You know, I got this woman that I know. Her name's Anne LaFleur. She just won't let me be. She keeps slinging new books at me, like, you know, I don't know, once a week, it seems. If not, it seems like every day, but it's probably once a week. So she just wrote this one, Understanding Your Irrevocable Trust. And the reason she wrote that book is because there's groups in social media. I'm not going to mention names. I'm not going to mention the social media platform that are clearly 110% being totally instructed wrong about trust. So, you know, she goes over in these other groups and, you know, she'll pay attention to what the hell's going on and, you know, who's talking about what and blah, blah, blah. And Floyd. I'm like, Ann, no, I'm not even going there. If you know, you want to write a book or do a show, that's fine. But, you know, yeah. So anyway, due to the fact that there's people over in these other groups, and Yusuf El was just talking about it on his show about somebody over in TikTok that was teaching trust straight out of Weiss Concise Trusts, which is not, like I'm quoting, not a bad thing, close quote. I agree with that. But, you know, it's a joke. It's a joke. These people are just selling y'all wolf tickets, and y'all are just like gobbling them up. Here, give me, I'll take a dozen. I'll take a dozen more. Oh, I'm just not satiated. I'll take another dozen more. So anyway, Rand's been writing these books. She's going nuts. They're all available in ebooks or soft covers. So if you want to pick one up, ebooks are $49. If you want a soft cover, and they're going to be big. They're 8.5 by 11. And the ones with 300 pages are going to be about that thick, but most of them are like 460 pages. So we're going to have some heft and some depth and some weight to them. So back over here to these clowns, these outlaws over here in a minute. Get Down Soda. Oh, I put all that information over on the other tab, didn't I? I just picked up excuse me, 2 ounces, 3 ounces. I think I picked up 3 ounces of silver for $52.50 each, and these are Morgans from 1889 and I think 1890, if I remember correctly. So yeah, I got a smoking deal on those, and I picked up a little bracelet, and I don't even know if I overpaid for that. I just wanted the bracelet, the sterling silver bracelet. But I picked up the oops, this one, right? Yep. Pick up the silver dollars, Morgans, which, you know, they got a worth all their own anyway, just because they're Morgans. And then silver's right now, I think 72 spot. So those, I think, are worth about $60. Silver melt weight, if I remember correctly. Yep, $60.76. So I scored. All right, I think I got everything pulled up that I need pulled up. And when this one, oh yeah, definitely need that one. Sorry, I had my auction tabs opened over there, so I was playing around over there. All right. Where y'all want to go first? Let's go here. Let's go find out what's what, because I know you've probably never heard of unless you're involved in politics and probably deep into politics, and definitely on the Democratic side, you know who the Farmer Labor Party is. And I had never heard of it until today, because I don't listen to their bullshit. So in my search, I kept coming up with the Minnesota DFL. I'm like, what the hell's that? So the Minnesota Democratic Farmer Labor Party, so fondly known as the DFL. Let me get my happy ass out the way here. Let me give you a black background. There we go. Is a political party in the U.S. state of Minnesota and the state affiliate of it's an affiliate of the National Democratic Party. That's why I told you it's a subsidiary, an agent. It was formed on April 15th, 1944, tax day, through the merger of the Minnesota Democratic Party and the Minnesota Farmer Labor Party. The DFL is one of only 2 state Democratic affiliates with a different name from the National Party, the other being the North Dakota Democratic Nonpartisan League Party. Boy, y'all just didn't need enough words in y'all's name, did y'all? The Minnesota Farmer Labor Party, founded in 1918 through the merger of the Nonpartisan League and the Duluth Union Labor Party, was a left-wing populist party that gained significant influence during the Great Depression, electing governors, U.S. senators, and representatives. By the late 1930s, internal conflicts and declining support led to its eventual merger with the state Democrats. Hubert H. Humphrey played a key role in the 1944 merger and is often regarded as a founding figure of the DFL. Today, the DFL is the dominant political party in Minnesota, controlling both U.S. Senate seats, 4 of 8 U.S. House seats, the governorship, the lieutenant governorship, the Minnesota Senate, and all statewide executive offices. Following a tie in the 2024 Minnesota House Representatives elections, the DFL entered into a power-sharing agreement with the Republican Party for control of the state House. The party is headquartered in St. Paul, Minnesota, and is led by Chairperson Richard Carl Baum. Its ideology is rooted in liberalism, progressivism, and populism, positioning it on the center-left of the political spectrum. The DFL has championed progressive legislation in recent years, including the legalization of recreational cannabis, expansion of abortion rights, protection of gender-affirming care, paid sick leave, and investments in public transit and education. Notable members of the DFL include former Vice Presidents Hubert H. Humphrey and Walter Mondale, Senator Paul Wellstone, Senator Amy Klobuchar, and Governor Tim Walz, who was selected as Kamala Harris's running mate in the 2024 presidential election. The party's youth wing is the Minnesota Young DFL. Now, the reason that nothing's getting done in Minnesota is because the party in power is the criminal organization, the racketeering, influenced, corrupt organization, the RICO. Here's your main ringleader. You can say it's Tim Walz, the governor, who is the chief executive officer, absolutely. But here's the guy, the chief law enforcement officer. He's the one that's supposed to be holding all the fraud and corruption in accountability. And of course, if you don't know who Keith Ellison is, he goes back quite a ways. He's, yes, very well known, but he is also a member of the Democratic Farmer Labor Party. So this is the gentleman who's supposed to pick up the ball, go form a special grand jury or a grand jury, and do some investigations and start whipping out some indictments for racketeering, influence, corrupt organization on the state level. That doesn't include the federal level because these were federal funds. We can get into all of that through the wire fraud, the mail fraud, the conspiracy to commit fraud and money laundering. And I'm sure there's some human trafficking and drug running, and I'm sure there's other felonies in there, but all you need is two. All you need is two participants. All you need is it happened over a period of time, and you have a racketeering, influence, corrupt organization. Who the kingpin is that's calling the shots, that's directing the funds to go here, there, set this up, that up. I'm sure it's just a conglomerate of people, but the buck has to stop somewhere. And that would be whoever is the chair of the Democratic National Party. Even though they may not be calling the shots, they are the chief executive officer of the criminal organization. I've seen people be indicted for a lot less. While they were in custody, they were alleged to have committed this crime. So how do you indict somebody that was in custody at the time? You're alleging they robbed a 7-Eleven or a gas station in Fifth Ward. Well, since the state attorney general of Minnesota is derelict in his duty and oath of office and his commitment to society and the citizens of Minnesota, it falls on the county attorney to represent the state, and that would be Mary Moriarty. And Mary Moriarty is the county attorney for Hennepin County, Minnesota, a position she assumed January 2nd, 2023, after winning the general election on November 8th, 2022. She is the first known LGBT person to hold the office and serves as the chief executive of Minnesota's largest public law office, managing a staff over 500 people and an annual budget of $69 million. Moriarty previously served as chief public defender of the Hennepin County from 2014 to 2020, having spent 25 years as a public defender before that. She was elected to the county attorney role following a campaign that emphasized criminal justice reform, particularly in the wake of the police murder of George Floyd. Moriarty announced August 7th, 2025, that she would not seek a second term, choosing instead to focus on implementing lasting changes during her final 17 months of her current term. Her tenure has been marked by notable policies, including the decision to end the criminalization of pregnancy for individuals struggling with substance abuse, which led to the dismissal of pending cases and support for expungement petitions. She also established the first Conviction Integrity Unit to review past cases for errors, resulting in the exonerations of individuals wrongly convicted of murder. However, her approach to prosecution has drawn criticism, particularly regarding leniency in cases involving violent offenses. High-profile decisions, such as offering plea deals to minors involved in a murder case, led to a backlash from victims' families, law enforcement, and state officials, prompting the Minnesota Attorney General to take over the case. In May 2025, the U.S. Department of Justice announced a civil rights investigation into her office over allegations that it considers racial identity in prosecutorial decisions, including plea negotiations. Despite these controversies, Moriarty has highlighted successes in crime prevention, such as 30% decrease in non-negligent homicides and a 45% drop in carjackings compared to 2022. Twenty 2025 Minnesota statutes. I better not talk tonight. If I see a girl, I'm just going to shut up. Construction of racketeering provisions. Section 69.902 and 6. Jesus Christ, I'm struggling tonight. Sections 609.902 to 609.912 shall be liberally construed to achieve their remedial purposes of curtailing racketeering activity and controlled substance crime and lessening their economic and political power in Minnesota. Do you want me to repeat that, folks? Okay. Shall be liberally construed to achieve their remedial purposes of curtailing racketeering activity and political power in Minnesota. Yep. So now we're going to bump it on down to 609.902. Minnesota statutes. 902. This is definitions. If you'd like to know what the definitions of these words are, here you go. I've read these 1,000 freaking times in Title 18, as well as over in the Georgia Civil Statutes and Codes. But you know what a criminal proceeding is. Obviously, you know what an enterprise is, because it's a sole proprietorship, a partnership, a corporation, trust, or other legal entity, or a union or governmental entity, association, or group of persons associated in fact, although not a legal entity, and includes illicit as well as legitimate enterprises. So I think we can throw the Democratic Party in there. I think we can throw in the Farmer Labor Party. I think we can also include every state level executive in Minnesota, every member of the Democratic Farmer Labor Party, no matter if they are or are not in elected positions. Those would be your street thugs, even though they're not out killing people. They're not the hitmen for the mafia. They're not the kingpin calling the shots. They're not the lieutenants, but they still matter. This is like a bedbug infestation. Once you get them, you can't just kill a couple and call it a day. You have to totally eradicate every single bug. Criminal act conduct constituting or a conspiracy or attempt to commit, which means, yeah, we tried it, but we didn't even get out of the store and we decided we weren't going to do it. That's an attempt. A felony violation in chapter 152 or a felony violation of all these different sections, passing those on. If the offense is punishable under subdivision 3, clause 1, if the property is a firearm, clause 3B or clause 3DV, section more, but let's just pass all that because we'll get into these criminal activities here in a minute. Participation in pattern of criminal activity. A person, and I'm quoting, participates in a pattern of criminal activity, close quote, when the person is a principal with respect to conduct constituting at least 3 of the criminal acts, including in the pattern, and 2 of the acts constitute felonies other than conspiracy. Pattern of criminal activity. Pattern of criminal activity means conduct constituting 3 or more criminal acts that, okay, these are the terms and conditions. 1, were committed within 10 years of the commencement of the criminal proceeding, are neither isolated incidents nor so closely related and connected in point of time or circumstances of the commission as to constitute a single criminal offense. And 3, were either I, related to one another through a common scheme or plan or a shared criminal purpose, or 2, committed, solicited, requested, importuned, or intentionally aided by persons acting with the mental culpability required for the commission of the criminal acts and associated with or in an enterprise involved in those activities. Subdivision 7, personal property. Personal property includes any personal property, an interest in personal property, or a right, including a bank account, debt, corporate stock, patent, or copyright. Personal property and a beneficial interest in personal property are deemed to be located where the trustee is, the personal property is, or the instrument evidencing the right is. Principal. Principal means the person who personally engages in conduct constituting a violation or who is criminally liable under 609.05 for the conduct of another constituting a violation. I think that's going to be law of parties like we have here in Texas, which means, let me define this to you folks, okay? My buddy Juan's coming over, all right? He's going to come pick me up, and we're going to go to a concert. Well, along the way, Juan goes, hey, man, I'm going to stop here, get a beer, some cigarettes. All right, bro. 2 things I don't do. But, we pull in this gas station, and he runs in and runs out, and he's got his beer and he's got his cigarettes. And, yeah, we pull off, and God dang, man, we didn't even get halfway to the concert, and we got 30 damn cop cars pulling us over. And I'm like, what the hell? Well, unbeknownst to me, Mr. Juan went in and robbed the damn gas station. He just jacked them for the cigarettes and the beer and grabbed a handful of money out of the cash register. And I had no idea that was going to happen. But because of law of parties, ding, 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 you get a free 10-year vacation. But we can go look, so let's go look. Liability for crimes of another. Aiding, abetting, liability. A person is criminally liable for a crime committed by another if the person intentionally aids, advises, hires, counsels, or conspires with, or otherwise procures the other to commit the crime. Expansive liability. A person liable under subdivision 1, which is the one above that I just read, is also liable for any other crime committed in pursuance of the intended crime if reasonably foreseeable by the person as a probable consequence of committing or attempting to commit the crime intended. Well, good luck. You're sitting out of the car. Look out, huh? Okay. So anyway, here's the rest of it. Texas is pretty cut and clear, man. It doesn't matter if you knew or didn't know. You were with them. You're a party to it. So, back that ass up. All right, there we go. Now bumping on down to, I think we went on through all that. Prosecuting authority. Yeah, missed that. So, prosecuting authority. Prosecuting authority means the office of a county attorney or the office of the attorney general. That's what I said. So we got to go where everything's at. And apparently these county attorneys are all with the Democratic Farmer Labor Party. Real property means any real property or an interest in real property, including a lease of or mortgage on real property. A beneficial interest in real property is deemed to be located where the real property is located. Well, Jesus, I hear they have these child care centers that are run by these fake ass companies where they're laundering money and sending it overseas, and it's all over Minnesota. (609.903) racketeering, subdivision 1, crime. A person is guilty of racketeering if the person, okay? No need to go to trial. They're guilty if all these terms and conditions are met. Number 1, is employed by or associated with an enterprise and intentionally conducts or participates in the affairs of the enterprise by participating in a pattern of criminal activity. They're public officials. They're aware that a crime has been committed. They have a duty by law, to take action. Number 2, acquires or maintains an interest in or control of an enterprise or an interest in real property by participating in a pattern of criminal activity, or number 3, participates in a pattern of criminal activity and knowingly invests any proceeds derived from that conduct or any proceeds derived from the investment or use of those proceeds in an enterprise or in real property. Subdivision 2, permitted activities. For the purpose of this section, it is not unlawful to, number 1, purchase securities on the open market with the intent to make an investment and without the intent of controlling or participating in the control of the issuer or of assisting another to do so. If the securities of the issuer held by the purchaser, the members of the purchaser's immediate family, and the purchaser's accomplice in a pattern of criminal activity do not amount in the aggregate to 5% of the outstanding securities of any one class and do not confer, either in law or in fact, the power to elect one or more directors of the issuer. I don't know why they put that in there, but they put that in there for a reason. Number 2, make a deposit in an account maintained in a savings association or a deposit in any other financial institution that creates an ownership interest in that association or institution. Number 3, purchase non-voting shares in a limited partnership with the intent to make an investment and without the intent of controlling or participating in the control of the partnership. Those are exempt. Moving on to 609.904, criminal penalties. Subdivision 1, penalty. A person convicted of violating section 609.903 may be sentenced to imprisonment for not more than 20 years or to payment of a fine not more than $1 million or both. fine. In lieu of the fine authorized by subdivision 1, a person convicted of violating section 609.903, that's 903, that's a consortium of felony offenses, and we'll go back and we'll look at them, and I'll show you what those are. Who received economic gain from the act or that caused economic loss or personal injury during the act may be sentenced to pay a fine calculated under this subdivision. The maximum fine is 3 times the gross value gained or 3 times the gross loss caused, whichever is greater, plus court costs and the cost of investigation and prosecution reasonably incurred, less the value of any property forfeited under section 609.905. Basically, what that means is this is treble damages. That means 3 times. If there's $8 billion that's unaccounted for that they've used in this criminal enterprise, somebody owes $24 billion. The district court shall hold a hearing to determine the amount of fine authorized by the subdivision. In imposing a fine, the court shall consider the seriousness of the conduct, whether the amount of the fine is disproportionate to the conduct in which the person engaged, its impact on victims and any legitimate enterprise involved in that conduct, as well as the economic circumstances of the convicted person, including the effect of the imposition of a fine on the person's immediate family. For the purpose of the subdivision, loss does not include pain and suffering. 3. Injunctive relief. After the entry of judgment, that includes a fine or an order of criminal forfeiture under section 609.905, the district court may enter a restraining order or injunction, require the execution of a satisfactory performance bond. I wonder what that is. Oh, isn't that a SF? What? What is that? SF 25? Or take other action, including the appointment of a receiver that the court deems proper to protect the interests of the prosecuting authority in collecting the money or forfeiture of or an innocent party. So they're going to put a performance bond for $24 billion. That's nothing, just ink on paper, right? Number 4, disposition of fine proceeds. The court shall apply fines collected under this section to the costs and expenses of investigation and prosecution, including the costs of resources and personnel incurred in the investigation and prosecution, and the balance, if any, as provided under section 574.34. Number 5, restitution. In a settlement discussion or before the imposition of a sentence under this section, the prosecuting authority shall vigorously advocate full and complete restitution to an aggrieved person. Before the acceptance of a plea or after a verdict, but before the imposition of a sentence under this section, the district court must ensure that full and complete restitution has been fully effected, or that a satisfactory explanation of why it is impractical has been made to the court. Moving on to 905, criminal forfeiture 1. And I'm reading these for a reason, because we're going to get down here and I'm going to show you that the corruption is corrupted. It's systemic within itself. It's like an Ouroboros where it's eating its tail and it just constantly consumes itself because it can't hold itself accountable. 1, forfeiture. When a person is convicted of violating 609.903, the plethora of different felonies, the court may order the person to forfeit to the prosecuting authority any real or personal property subject to forfeiture under this section. Property subject to forfeiture is real and personal property that was used in the course of, intended for use in the course of, derived from, or realized through the conduct in violation of section 609.903. A court may not order the forfeiture of property that has been used to pay reasonable attorney fees in connection with a criminal proceeding under section 609.903. The term includes property constituting an interest in or means of control or influence over the enterprise involved in the violation of sections 902, and any property constituting proceeds derived from the violation of section 902, including number 1, position, office, appointment, tenure, commission, or employment contract that was acquired or maintained in violation of section 903, which is all the felonies. or through which the person conducted or participated in the conduct of the affairs of an enterprise that the person exercised in violation of 903. Hang on, let me drink something real quick. Number 2, any compensation, right, or benefit derived from a position, office, appointment, tenure, commission, or employment contract described in this section that accrued to the person during the period of the conduct in violation of Section 903. Number 3, any interest in, security of, claim against, or property, contractual right affording the person a source of influence or control over the affairs of an enterprise that the person exercised in violation of Section 903. And number 4, any amount payable or paid under any contract for goods or services that was awarded or performed in violation of 903. Subdivision 2, other property of defendant. The district court may order a criminal forfeiture of any other property of the defendant up to a value of the property that is unreachable if any property subject to criminal forfeiture under subdivision 1 cannot be located, has been sold to a bona fide purchaser for value, has been placed beyond the jurisdiction of the court, has been substantially diminished in value by the conduct of the defendant, has been commingled with other property that cannot be divided without difficulty or undue injury to innocent persons, or number 6, is otherwise unreachable without undue injury to any innocent person. So apparently we got to go to Somalia. And I think we got just the guys to do it, and they're called the Delta Team. And they're so fucking good that they can extract a president and the first lady of a sovereign country out of that country with minimal resistance. So I'm pretty sure they can go get our money back from Somalia, right? Little old Somalia. I heard they got a bunch of little skinny black people there. That's what I hear. I don't know. I'm sure those Delta guys can kick their ass, right? 907, preservation of property subject to forfeiture. TROs may be temporary restraining orders. A, when an indictment or a complaint is filed under Section 903, the district court may take any of the following actions if the prosecuting authority shows by a preponderance of the evidence, that's not beyond a reasonable doubt, folks, more likely than not, that the action is necessary to preserve the reachability of property subject to criminal forfeiture. Number 1, enter a restraining order or injunction. Number 2, require the execution of a satisfactory performance bond. Or 3, take any other reasonable action, including the appointment of a receiver. B, before granting the remedies provided by this subdivision, the court shall hold a hearing after notice to all affected persons, giving them reasonable opportunity to respond. At the hearing, the rules of evidence do not apply. Subdivision 2, pre-indictment order. A, if no indictment or complaint has been filed, the district court may take actions provided under subdivision 1 if the prosecuting authority makes a showing required by subdivision 1 and also shows that, number 1, there's probable cause to believe that the property with respect to which the order is sought would, in the event of a conviction, be subject to criminal forfeiture under Section 904, and number 2, the requested order would not result in the substantial and irreparable harm or injury to the party against whom the order is to be entered, or to the other affected persons that outweigh the needs to preserve the reachability of the property. B, an order entered under this subdivision is effective for a maximum of 90 days unless, number 1, it's extended by the district court for good cause, or 2, terminated by the filing of an indictment or a complaint alleging that the property is subject to forfeiture. Subdivision 3, restraining order without notice. A, on application by the prosecuting authority, the district court may grant without notice to any party a temporary restraining order to preserve the reachability of property subject to criminal forfeiture under 905 if, 1, an indictment or a complaint alleging that the property is subject to criminal forfeiture has been filed, or the district court determines that there is probable cause to believe that the property with respect to which the order is sought would, in the event of conviction, be subject to criminal forfeiture under 905. Number 2, the property is in the possession or control of the party against whom the order is to be entered. And 3, the district court makes a specific finding in writing that the property can be concealed, disposed of, or placed beyond the jurisdiction of the court before any party may be heard in opposition. And finally, B, A temporary restraining order granted without notice to any party under this subdivision expires within the time fixed by the court, not to exceed 10 days. The court may extend the order for good cause shown, or if the party against whom it is entered consents to an extension. After a temporary restraining order is granted under this subdivision, a hearing concerning the entry of an order under this section shall be held at the earliest practicable time and before the temporary order expires. Moving on to 908, disposition of forfeiture proceeds, subdivision 1. Disposition alternatives. After making due provisions for the rights of innocent persons, the prosecuting authority shall, as soon as feasible, dispose of all property ordered forfeited under Section 905 by, number 1, public sale; 2, transfer to a state governmental agency for official use; 3, sale or transfer to an innocent person; or 4, destruction if the property is not needed for evidence in a pending criminal or civil proceeding. Subdivision 2. No reversion to defendant. An interest in personal or real property not exercisable by or transferable for value by the prosecuting authority expires and does not revert to the defendant. Forfeited property may not be purchased by the defendant, relative of the defendant, or any person acting in concert with the defendant or on the defendant's behalf. Subdivision 3, sale proceeds. The proceeds of a sale or other disposition of forfeited property under this section, whether by final judgment, settlement, or otherwise, must be applied as follows. Number 1, to the fees and costs of the forfeiture and sale, including expenses of seizure, maintenance, and custody of the property pending its disposition, advertising, and court costs. That's called holding costs. Number 2, to all costs and expenses of investigation and prosecution, including costs of resources and personnel incurred in investigation and prosecution. And number 3, the balance to the appropriate agencies under 609.5315. Moving on to 909, additional relief available with respect to property ordered forfeited, fined, imposed, civil penalty imposed, and a criminal proceeding under Section 903 or a civil proceeding under 911. The district court may, on petition of the prosecuting authority or any other person within 60 days of a final order, 1, authorize the compromise of claims; 2, award compensation to persons providing information that results in a forfeiture under Section 905. So I'm blowing the whistle. Woo, woo, woo. I'm the first one. I'm first in line. Nah, 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 nah. Number 3, grants petitions for mitigation or remission of forfeiture and fines. Number 4, restore forfeited property or impose fines to victims of violation of Section 903, and take any other action to protect the rights of innocent persons that is in the interest of justice and is consistent with the purposes of Sections 609.9012, 609.912. Moving on to 910, relations to other sanctions. Subdivision 1, remedy not exclusive. Except as provided in this section, a criminal penalty, forfeiture, or fine imposed under Sections 903, 04, 05, or 911 does not preclude the application of any other criminal penalty or civil remedy for the separate criminal acts. A prosecuting authority may not file a civil action under Section 911 if any prosecuting authority has filed a previous criminal proceeding under 903 against the same person based on the same criminal conduct and the charges were dismissed after jeopardy attached and the person acquitted. Subdivision 2, restitution. A restitution payment to a victim under Section 904 does not limit the liability for damages in a civil suit or proceeding for an amount greater than the restitution payment. 911, civil remedies. Okay, this is where I addressed the Trump RICO in Fulton County, Georgia, because this, I believe it's this one. We're going to read it. So, Subdivision 1, relief available. The prosecuting authority may institute civil proceedings in district court against a person seeking relief from conduct constituting a violation, Section 903, that would be a state RICO, or to prevent or restrain future violations. Did you hear that? The prosecuting authority may institute civil proceedings in district court against a person seeking relief from conduct constituting a violation of Section 903 or to prevent or restrain future violations. What authority and power that has. If the prosecuting authority proves the alleged violation by a preponderance of the evidence, which is a lesser burden than beyond a reasonable doubt, preponderance of the evidence is more likely than not, and the court has made due provision for the rights of innocent persons, the court may, number one, order a defendant to divest an interest in a enterprise or in real property. The enterprise, the Democratic Party, the Democratic Farmer Labor Party, which has taken over Minnesota and Minnesota government. Number two, impose reasonable restrictions on the future activities or investments of a defendant, including prohibiting a defendant from engaging in the same type of endeavor as the enterprise in which the defendant was engaged in violation of 903. Number three, order the dissolution or reorganization of the Democratic National Party, the Democratic Farmer Labor Party. Number four, order the suspension or revocation of a license, a permit, or prior approval granted to an enterprise by a state agency. They have to be registered as a political party in that state. Absolutely. All candidates have to register. They have to have an affiliation, whether they are independent, Republican, Democrat, constitutionalist, doesn't matter. Number five, order the surrender of the charter of a corporation organized under Minnesota law, dissolution of an enterprise, or the revocation of a certificate authorizing a foreign corporation to conduct business in Minnesota if the court finds that I, the board of directors or a managerial agent acting on behalf of the corporation in conducting the affairs of the corporation authorized or engaged in conduct prohibited by Section 903, and two, double I, the public interest in preventing future criminal conduct requires the action. Subdivision 2, injunctive relief. In a proceeding under this section, the court may grant injunctive relief. Subdivision 3, civil penalty. The prosecuting authority may institute proceedings against an enterprise or an individual to recover a civil penalty. Yes, sir. Oh, no, I thought you could swing by here. I'm doing a live show. Bye. There you go. You got about 20 minutes. Civil penalty may not exceed $1 million, less a fine imposed under Section 903. Penalties collected under this section must be applied to the costs and expenses of investigation and prosecution, including costs of resources and personnel incurred in investigation and prosecution, and the balance, if any, to the state general fund. Subdivision 4. Attorney fees. If the district court issues an injunction or grants other relief under this section, or the prosecuting attorney otherwise substantially prevails, the prosecuting authority shall also recover reasonable attorney fees in the trial and appellate courts and the costs of investigation and litigation reasonably incurred. Subdivision 5, personal jurisdiction. Personal service of process in a proceeding under this section may be made on any person outside of Minnesota if the person was a principal in any conduct constituting a violation of Section 903 in the state. The person is deemed to have submitted to the jurisdiction of the courts of this state for the purposes of this section. 912. Notice to other prosecuting authorities. When a county attorney begins an investigation involving Section 901 to Section 9011, the county attorney shall notify the Attorney General. When the Attorney General begins an investigation involving Sections 901 to 911, the Attorney General shall notify the county attorneys of each county in which a substantial part of the investigation is likely to be conducted. Notice to principal is notice to agent. Notice to agent is notice to principal. The doctrine of notice to principal is in effect from restatements. Third Actually, it's restatement second, third. Yeah. So that's it for that. But let's go back to 903. All right, here's the crimes. And we're going to go over here to, I believe it's 904. Nope. Go back to 2 then. Yep. Here we go. So let's just pop this one open. This is 299F. Unlawful possession of component. So that's explosives. We know we're not dealing with that. 299 F80, that's going to be something similar. 82, I bet it's going to be something similar. Illegal transfer penalty, yeah, explosives. I know how to read law, folks. Murder in the first degree. Well, I don't know if anybody's been murdered yet, but it's a possibility, isn't it? So we're going to move on to 609.19. Murder in the second degree. Well, again, I don't know where the second degree is, but if we find a murder there, we'll report it. 609.195. Murder in the third degree. Damn. I wonder if they got any murder in the wards like we do here. Murder in the fifth ward. Manslaughter in the first degree. Oh boy, here we go. I mean, these are all possibilities. We're dealing with the Somalis, folks, so anything's possible. Murder, manslaughter in the second degree. Assault in the first degree. Great bodily harm. Use of deadly force against a peace officer, prosecuting attorney, judge, or correctional employee. Great bodily harm, peace officer, prosecuting attorney, correctional employee. Use of a dangerous weapon or deadly weapon resulting in great bodily harm against a peace officer, prosecuting attorney, judge, or correctional employee. Mandatory sentences. Nope. And 221. Assault in the first degree. No, I don't need no salt and pepper. Assault in the second degree. 223. That's probably assault in the third degree. Assault in the fourth degree. I kind of saw that one coming. Great bodily harm caused by distribution of drugs. Well, there's a possibility. Whoever approximates great bodily harm by directly or indirectly, unlawfully selling, giving away, bartering, delivering, exchanging, distributing, administering a controlled substance classified as Schedule 1, 2, may be sentenced to imprisonment. So that's under the RICO. 235, use of drugs to injure or facilitate a crime. 245, aggravated robbery. Nope. 25, kidnapping. There's some possibility there. Coercion. Subdivision 1, acts constituting whoever orally or in writing makes any of the following threats and thereby cause another against the other's will to do any act or forbear doing a lawful act is guilty of coercion and may be sentenced as provided in subdivision 2. 1, a threat to unlawfully inflict bodily harm upon, hold in confinement the person threatened or another when robbery or attempt to rob is not committed thereby, or a threat to unlawfully inflict damage to the property of the person threatened or another, or threat to unlawfully injure a trade, business, profession, or calling, or a threat to expose a secret or deformity, publish a defamatory statement, or otherwise expose any person to disgrace or ridicule, or a threat to make or cause to be made a criminal charge, whether true or false, provided that a warning of the consequences of future violation of law was given in good faith by a peace officer or prosecuting attorney to a person and shall not be deemed a threat for the purpose of this section or a threat to commit the violation under 617.216. Here's the sentence. And that was kidnapping. Yeah, we already did that. 342, criminal sexual conduct in the first degree. I don't think that's going to fly. More sexual conduct. That's not going to fly. 344. More sexual conduct. 345. More sexual conduct. 420. This would be different. Bribery. Here we go. Acts constituting whoever does any of the following is guilty of bribery and may be sentenced to an imprisonment for not more than 10 years or to payment of a fine of not more than $20,000 or both. Doesn't even say by a finding of guilt. Number one, offers, gives, or promises to give directly or indirectly to any person who is a public officer or employee any benefit, reward, or consideration to which the person is not legally entitled with intent thereby to influence the person's performance of the powers or duties as such officer or employee. Or number two, being a public officer or employee requests, receives, or agrees to receive directly or indirectly any such benefit, reward, or consideration upon the understanding that it will have such an influence. Or number three, offers, gives, or promises to give directly or indirectly any such benefit, reward, or consideration to a person who is a witness or about to become a witness in a proceeding before a judicial or hearing officer with the intent that the person's testimony be influenced thereby or that the person will not appear at the proceeding. That's influencing or tampering with a witness. Number four, as a person who is or is about to become such witness requests, receives, or agrees to receive directly or indirectly any such benefit, reward, or consideration upon the understanding that the person's testimony will be so influenced and that the person will not appear at the proceeding. Or five, accepts directly or indirectly a benefit, reward, or consideration upon the agreement or understanding expressed or implied that the acceptor will refrain from giving information that may lead to the prosecution of a crime or purported crime, that the acceptor will abstain from, discontinue, delay prosecution, therefore, except in a case where compromise is allowed by law. Subdivision 2, forfeiture of office. Any public officer who is convicted of violating or attempting to violate subdivision 1 shall forfeit his public officer's office and be forever disqualified from holding public office under the state. .48, perjury. Everybody knows what perjury is, but here we go. I'm not going to break down the elements of the offense because these are all the elements of the offense. And that was 48, 485, escape from custody. Well, they've already escaped. They're over in Somalia. If not, they're headed that way. Aiding an offender. Whoever harbors, conceals, aids, or assists by word or acts another whom the actor knows or has reason to know has committed a crime under the laws of this or another state or of the United States with the intent that such offender shall avoid or escape from arrest, trial, conviction, or punishment, may be sentenced to imprisonment for not more than 3 years or to payment of a fine not more than $5,000 or both if the crime committed or attempted by the person is a felony. Whoever knowingly harbors, conceals, or aids a person who is on probation, parole, or supervised release because of a felony level conviction and for whom an arrest, detention, arrest probably doesn't apply to anything. Obstructing investigation. Whoever intentionally aids another person whom the actor knows or has reason to know has committed a criminal act by destroying or concealing evidence of that crime, providing false or misleading information about that crime, receiving the proceeds of that crime, or otherwise obstructing the investigation or prosecution of that crime is an accomplice after the fact and may be sentenced to not more than one half of the statutory maximum sentence of imprisonment or to payment of a fine not more than one half of the maximum fine that could be imposed on the principal offender for the crime of violence. For purposes of this subdivision, criminal act means an act that is a crime listed in section 609.11, subdivision 9, under the laws of this or another state or of the United States, and also includes an act that would be a criminal act if committed by an adult. Taking responsibility for criminal acts, subdivision 4. A, unless the person is convicted of the underlying crime, a person who assumes responsibility for a criminal act with the intent to obstruct, impede, or prevent a criminal investigation may be sentenced to not more than one half of the statutory maximum of imprisonment or to payment of a fine not more than one half of the maximum that could be imposed on the principal offender for the criminal act. B, nothing in this subdivision shall be construed to impair the right of any individual or group to engage in speech protected by the United States Constitution or the Minnesota Constitution. Subdivision 5, venue, place of where the court's going to be. An offense committed under subdivision 1 or 3 may be prosecuted in the county where the aiding or obstructing behavior occurred or the county where the underlying criminal act occurred. Yep, just did that one. 695, aiding offender. 696, concealing criminal proceeds. A person is guilty of a felony and may be sentenced under subdivision 2 of this if the person, 1, conducts a transaction involving a monetary instrument or instruments with a value exceeding $5,000, and 2, knows or has reason to know that the monetary instrument or instruments represent the proceeds of or are derived from the proceeds of the commission of a felony under this chapter or chapter 152, or an offense in another jurisdiction that would be a felony under this chapter or chapter 152 if committed in Minnesota. Subdivision 2, the penalty. A person convicted under subdivision 1 may be sentenced to imprisonment for not more than 10 years or to payment of a fine not more than $100,000 or both. Monetary instrument, subdivision 3. For purposes of this section, a monetary instrument means United States currency and coin, the currency and coin of a foreign country, a bank check, cashier's check, traveler's check, money order, stock, investment security, or negotiable instrument in bearer form or otherwise in the form by which title to the instrument passes upon delivery, gold, silver, or platinum bullion, or coins and diamonds, emeralds, rubies, or sapphires. So the state of Minnesota, under this section, they take precious metals and gemstones. Subdivision 4, payment of reasonable attorney fees. Subdivision 1 does not preclude the payment or receipt of reasonable attorney fees. That was 496. Moving on to 497, engaging in business of concealing criminal proceeds. Subdivision 1, crime. A person is guilty of a felony and may be sentenced under subdivision 2 if the person knowingly initiates, organizes, plans, finances, directs, manages, supervises, or otherwise engages in a business that has a primary or secondary purpose, concealing money or property that was gained as a direct result of the commission of a felony under this chapter or chapter 152, or of an offense committed in another jurisdiction that would be a felony under this chapter or chapter 152 if committed in Minnesota. Subdivision 2, penalty. A person convicted under subdivision 1 may be sentenced to imprisonment for not more than 20 years or to a payment of a fine not more than $1 million or both. Moving on to 498, I believe. Yep, 498. Tampering with a witness. I told you. In a RICO, you do not talk to witnesses. That's tampering with a witness. I don't have to sit here and tell you what it is, but believe me, if you text them, call them, email them, follow them, stalk them, bump into them, call their parents, their wife, their sister, their brother, their coworkers, anything, tampering with a witness. $497. engaging in business of concealing criminal proceeds. I think we already went into that, didn't we? Yeah, we did. Okay, here's 609.52. Theft. Wow. None of that happening, right? There's no theft in this RICO. Property means all forms of tangible property, whether real or personal, without limitation, including documents of value. Electricity, gas, water, corpses, domestic animals, pets, dogs, fowl, and heat supplied by pipe or conduit by municipalities or public utility companies, and articles as defined in Clause 4 representing trade secrets, with articles shall be deemed for the purposes of extra session laws 1967 chapter 15 to include any trade secret represented by the article. Value means the retail market value at the time of the theft. We can get into all that. Article means any object, material, device, substance, including any writing, record, recording, drawing, sample, specimen, prototype, model, photograph, microorganism, blueprint, or map, or any copy of any of the foregoing. Y'all know what all this is. Motor vehicle, motor fuel, retailer, wage theft. Most of these are self-explanatory. Employer, employee, acts constituting theft. A, whoever does any of the following commits theft and may be sentenced as provided in subdivision 3. Number 1, intentionally and without claim of rights takes, uses, transfers, conceals, or retains possession of movable property, currency, cash flow, moving through the banks, without the other's consent and with the intent to deprive the owner permanently of the possession of the property, or number 2, with or without having legal interest in movable property, intentionally and without consent takes the property out of the possession of the pledgee or other person having a superior right of possession with the intent thereby to deprive the pledgee or other person permanently of the possession of the property. And I'll be right back. Yeah, I know. Yeah, hang on, I'm live. Let me wrap this up. Yeah. All right. So there you go, folks. Minnesota RICO, it's a failed state. It's an outlaw state.
Hey, them Somalis, I want a Somali fucking daycare tomorrow. If you want to date me, ladies, if you're liberal and you want to date me, you better have a Somali daycare.
You got a high bar, bro. That's all I'm saying. Juan C. Vasquez, independent filmmaker. So there you go, folks. Federal government, failed state. Department of Justice, failed. FBI, failed. U.S. Marshals, failed. State of Minnesota, to form a more perfect union, failed. So what do we do about that? You can vote me in, U.S. Attorney General, because I know how to read the law. I know how to apply it. Sadly, the people that you appointed to govern you did not. I don't vote, so I don't have a dog in that fight, sadly. And until we, the people, stand up and we make change, it's going to, you see what's happening. You see, they're just covering up a whole state full of corruption. They're not going to do anything. Nobody's going to be held accountable. If they are, there's going to be a bunch of Somalis. There's not going to be any heads rolling in the executive branch of the Minnesota state government. Everybody who holds elective office in Minnesota, I don't care whether you're on the town, city, county, state level, you're required by law to hold your peers accountable. And you're not. You're a failed state. I'm not saying all the other states aren't failed. I live in a failed city, Houston, Texas, so I know what it is. They just found 3 more bodies in the bayou, but there's not a serial killer. Everybody, do not be alarmed. Almost 200 bodies have been found in Houston bayous in the last 7 years, but there's no serial killer, so do not be alarmed. Thank you, everybody. I'm going to go to my concert, and I'm going to get down, brown, and have fun. Thank you for watching this video. I really do appreciate it. And LaFleur's class coming up at the end of the month. fearlessfloydshow@yahoo.com/store. New books coming out. Go get them. Y'all asked for them. Y'all going to get them. Oh, and coming up, y'all tune in for